I said what I said, and I'm willing to stake my entire artistic reputation on this. I love this movie. I think it's damn near divinely inspired, and I came in without really expecting much. Like many of you, I was a fan of it, like of the lore as a kid, but like mostly kind of passively, mostly through the game theories and all that. I saw the first movie in a chemical stupor, and I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I didn't really pay it any mind. I was invited out to a date to watch this one, and I agreed, and I was blown away. I think everyone should watch this movie. Watch it in theaters while you still can. You don't really even need to watch the first one. I say just skip it if you haven't seen it already. Just see it in theaters. You pick up on it pretty quick. Spoiler warning for the rest of the video, though, obviously. I'm going to give a brief summary, do a quick talk about the themes, go over some standout moments, and I'll have you out before supper. Fair? Arf, 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 arf. The opening scene is this beautiful shot in this beautiful set of the original FNAF Bear pizza. And it's in the 80s, and there's this lonely girl sitting alone. Her friend tries to convince her to come and eat cake with everyone, but she doesn't want to. While alone, she's the only one who can see the purpley guy lure a kid to the back. She tries to get help, but literally no one really gives a rat's ass. So she goes in alone and chases after Springtrap herself. She carries the kid in her arms, but Purple Guy finds her, who is Springtrap, finds her, stabs her, and she dies in the process. And then she collapses, and the puppet carries her. Then it cuts to the early 2000s, which I think is a really cool setting to have this in, because I grew up in the early 2000s. Although there's a brief time jump between the movies, it mostly picks up where the last one left off. Abby's coming out of her shell, the sister of the main character, but she misses the FNAF Bear ghost friends. She wants to visit them, but Mike says they need to repair the robots first, something he knows he cannot do. He's getting closer with Vanessa, but he hesitates to confirm anything romantic. They go out on a date, I guess, and Mike comes home to a note. Abby has run off to Five Nights at FNAF Bears. Mike finds her there and feels bad, so he lets her rob it. She takes this old little, Talk to Freddy Five Bears pizza toy, and she hopes that she'll use it to commune with the robot spirits, but it doesn't really work. There's this ghost hunting show that they go and watch, and this one security guard, an evil twink by the name of Michael Afton, invites them to the first FNAF Bear location. The lead of the ghost hunt show comes to this music box and turns it off and awakens the puppet. The puppet, remotely controlling the machinery, kills all the ghost hunters and possesses the lead ghost hunter, which gives the puppet the ability to send out a message. The puppet, also known as Charlotte, that's the ghost girl who got killed, but the puppet, I'm going to say, to be respectful of her powers, I guess, uses her magic powers of possession to lure Abby, pretending to be the ghost friends, through the ghost toy box. And she lures Abby to the very first FNAF Bear location. And then the puppet uses her to lure Vanessa as this whole thing. Vanessa was that friend of the lonely dead girl, and also the daughter of the man who killed her, the purpley guy. While back at Freddy's, she's watching through this video set of this Toy Chica animatronic who is threatening to kill Abby unless Vanessa gives the code to allow the animatronics to leave FNAF Bear location. The very first FNAF Bear location. And Abby doesn't know shit, and she still thinks that these things are her friends. And so she keeps going along, and she takes the robot to school. The Tronics, controlled by the puppet, have this plan to kill the parents all around town. She feels bad that the parents didn't help her stop the purple guy from killing that one kid, and then she ended up dead. Which is a little bit of an insane reaction, because the parents there are the kids who... It doesn't really make sense, but she's a ghost, and she's trapped in the last emotion that she was having, which was rage at all the parents who didn't help her, and the death got covered up as an accident. She was in a restricted area. So I kind of get it, but it's definitely not how I would react, and it's not how I suggest any of my viewers react to this situation. Mike goes to the first FNAF location and tries to track them on the computer device and hopefully deactivate the signal, while Vanessa goes to limit the damage by hitting shit with her car. Mike has to avoid getting killed by the withered prototype Tronics, still there, and controlled by the puppet. He eventually does that, but after losing access to the signal, the puppet possesses Abby, and Vanessa and Mike come running back. The signal is back online, but the FNAF 1 Tronics come back and save the day. They capture the evil twink, the friend of Mike who really doesn't like Vanessa because he thinks that she's crazy, which this whole ordeal really just kind of confirmed that. But he catches the evil twink, Michael Afton. But they're not all as well at the end of it, because at the end of the day, after all this stuff has happened, Mike doesn't fuck with Vanessa anymore at all and rejects her, and feeling totally alone, the spirit of the puppet possesses her. The Tronics came to save the day, right? But doing so stopped them from being able to contain the purple guy killer, aka Springtrap. FNAF Bear enthusiasts who want to make a horror attraction find him and other FNAF memorabilia and things to set up for the next movie. Lord, I'm excited because they want to do like the FNAF Bear Fright thing. Honestly, I really hope they make FNAF Bear 3. I think it'll be really cool. I hope they turn this into a franchise. I really liked FNAF 2. I went back and watched FNAF 1, and I liked it a lot more this time. And it could be for a number of reasons, but I don't know, I like where it's going. I think it's a great franchise. Meow, 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 meow. I think the unifying idea of this is how trauma isolates, and the things we do to feel less alone. The characters are the clearest reflections of this, I think, or at least the most obvious ones to me. Abby goes forward with this spirit of openness while still trying to connect with her past. She does feel lonely and wants to kind of use what happened for personal glory to alleviate this. And it kind of leaves her grounded, but easy to manipulate, which is something I definitely cannot relate to. Vanessa tries to deal with her past, but feels totally unable to confront the emotion of it. She isn't trying to run from it, but she's overpowered by it. She hates the idea of being a victim, so she tries to be a savior and gets overly involved, also making her easy to manipulate. It's just something I can't relate to at all. Mike is kind of analytical with it. He wants to move on, but he's a bit impatient and sometimes dishonest. He tries his best to be there for people, but in truth, he's too stuck up with a superficial change mentality to ever really do anything to bring actual peace. Evil Twink is totally consumed by the trauma. The trauma still totally controls him without challenge. He is a willing and enthusiastic perpetrator of future transgressions because he can't bear to actually work through it. He wants to feel less alone by following in his father's footsteps, symbolically aligning him with his father rather than actually working through his goddamn shit. The puppet is also a tool for the trauma, but she ironically thinks that she's getting revenge for it rather than just extending its reach. She thinks it's judgment and consequence, but really, she's just a tool for further destruction. And it leads to freeing the very man who killed her and putting a lot of innocent people in harm's way. Something I do not recommend. Something that none of my viewers should do. It's something that I would never do. It's foolish. Like, I understand it. You know, she's like 11 or something, but like, and like she's trapped in this like spirit and stuff, but it's so foolish. Honestly, if any viewers are doing this, like, still watch and subscribe and comment and stuff, but like, cut it the fuck out. Cut it the fuck out. That's so petty. That's so petty. The characters are often separated from each other. Even when they're together in the same scene, they're separated by the weight of what has happened and all the conflicts that comes from the inability to deal with it. Despite their best efforts, at least of the three leads, they aren't really together until the very end. And things are somewhat resolved. They're at least real, but the consequences of it further isolate them going forward, and communication just shuts down. The visual design also reflects this theme. The lighting and the shot compositions do much to establish a very lonely tone. The visual metaphors are incredible. You know I love a visual metaphor. I love how Mike is like painting over the wallpaper in the house in one scene, trying to cover up the past by blotting it out in blandness under the guise of moving forward. I think it's cool how there's a scene where Mike's in the river and Vanessa grabs his hand, which contrasts it with the ghost hunter who died in the river without having the colleague to save him because they were all separated and trying to explore it. Here they were trying to confront it and be there for each other in their own ways, even though they had all their own stuff going on, but which didn't last long. But it led to their survival, which I think is pretty cool. Like I said, I did rewatch the first movie, but comparatively, this one is way more funny and way more scary. Way more jumps, way more gaffes. The Mangle Foxy is so spooky. Really, all the Tronics are quite the fright. It's cool seeing the animatronics out of the FNAF Bear restaurant. Not only does it give it a kind of a spectacle, you know, expanding the world, but it also raises the stakes. It also helps, the separation of things, making things feel more isolated. The tone, I already went the frick over that. I really like the driving scene with Foxy, the Mangle Fox. The feeling of motion and momentum is just incredible. I love how cool the sets are. The early 2000s, like, kind of period piece vibe is so freaking sick. I really like the conversation about the confronting trauma through dreams. I think it's very interesting. PTSD is a trip, and it's handled much more realistically than what I've seen in most media, which is honestly really crazy for FNAF Bear 2. It's not at all what I expected. The dream sequence is kind of realistic with Vanessa. I've had dreams like that before. I relate to Veronica a lot. The line, "I'm trying to fix you," by Mike, "I'm trying to fix you," that was so real, a little bit too real. I liked the FNAF 1 bears coming to save the day. I liked the friend capturing the evil twink. I liked the Living Tombstone song that comes on for the credits, like, "Oh, before I become a puppet," right at the credits and shit. Oh, that end credit scene that sets up for FNAF Bear Fright. It allows them to do it without that major time jump in the future, so it gets to have all the characters, and it gets to not break the sequence. I think that's cool. The animation in the opening was cool. It references those arcade games and the Living Tombstone songs, which got me really primed and hyped for the one at the end. The kids talking on the bus about FNAF Bear reminds me of talking about FNAF lore with my friends as a kid at school. There's obvious parallels between Charlotte and the now little sister, which I thought was cool, and I think it's cool that, in the modern day, in the here and now, that same type of weird girl who I relate to is able to make friends. I love the robot teacher. He's so annoying and hilarious. Everything he does on screen is over the top and maniacal in the best possible way. There's the way he begs for his life by offering test answers for the next test. Not even test answers, just answers for the next test. He's so evil and silly. I love him. The design for the puppet was so cool. When I was a kid, the puppet was always my favorite. I love how the music box is incorporated in a way that deepens the lore and the relationship between the characters. You know, that ballerina bitch. It's a great Easter egg. The cameo of the baby animatronic is really cool, you know, from the sister location. I think it's cool how these are woven into the plot of things going in so early in the franchise. The plot of FNAF was built in a really haphazard way, but these films have a lot of great narrative potential just because people kind of generally know where things are going. I think that's awesome. Honestly, I wasn't expecting much from this, but from start to finish, I was mesmerized, and I can't wait to see what they do next. If you got this far, you probably like FNAF, and you're probably queer, so just keep in mind that Scott Cawthon donated to Republicans, and I'm a homeless transsexual woman in Texas. Every day for me is a FNAF bear fright, and although I love getting to prove how strong I am, I would really like you to consider subscribing and checking out some other videos. I play FNAF in this one. I'm also a musician, and I'm working on an album, Day Spring. This channel started out as a promotion for my music, but I've kind of just had a lot of fun doing this. So, anyways, check out my demos. Free Palestine, Fuck Ice, Day Spring Dreamers. Day Spring Dreamers, signing out.